Today's lesson, if you've got the book, it's lesson 19. That's on page 24 in the printed book or the ebook. If you've seen the cycle of thirds lesson I've done before, then you'll have seen one page like this. In the book, you get 2 pages, and we've got all 12 keys. Let me hold you that up there. And you can see I write my notes in here and stuff. This is my master copy. So we want to utilize this cycle of thirds thing here today. The reason I think the cycle of thirds is important is because it's about working within the key, not to get lost. And I said this before, and I got a load of stick about it. Oh, cycle of fifths, cycle of fifths. In my opinion, and I'm allowed to have this opinion, the cycle of fifths lives off the guitar. It lives on paper. It is a theoretical framework, and it's great if you're a composer. It's great if you do jazz, and it's great if you do anything where you need to know about changing keys. That's essentially where I feel the circle of fifths is super useful. But most of us guitarists, we play simple songs, and when you play simple songs, they're generally in one key. They might go to another key, they might borrow chords from another key. That will happen, but for the most part, 90% of the time, 95% of the time, you're going to be in one key. And this is where the cycle of thirds comes in. Now, if you saw last week's lesson, then you'll know I talked about the compound and the simple octaves. There were some things that I set out there that will hopefully be good foundations for understanding what I'm going to talk about today. Let me just recap what happened in last week's lesson, because we are continuing that stream of thought. So we took the major scale and we realized that we have a root, we have a third, we have a fifth. This gives us the triad, and then we have a seventh. That there is in the simple octave. And then what happens is the octave begins again, and we get the 9th, the 11th, and the 13th. And this is in the compound octave. So this is where we get all those names of those chords from. We've got the triad here, the 7th, that is the bridge into the compound octave. And then we get these upper extensions. These are called the extensions. So when you see all these chords that have got these fancy names, this is where those fancy names come from. Just this business here. Now, here's a cool thing with this. This is linear. Say we had a C major chord, or just a C. That is a root, a third, and a fifth. Let's extend it. We go C major 7. We get a root, third, fifth, 7th. If we did a C major 9, we get a root, third, fifth, 7, 9. Let's keep on adding it up. C major 11, we get root, third, fifth, 7, 9, 11. C major 13, we get root, third, fifth, 7, 9, 11, 13. And you can see that this here is the final expression of this simple octave moving into the compound octave. You're going to do the key of C major, C, D minor, E minor, F, G, A minor, and B diminished. C, D, E, F, G, A, B, those are the ingredients for C major, but these are them expressed as 3-note chords, otherwise known as triads. We can extend this into being a C major 7. This is a D minor 7, E minor 7, F major 7, G 7, A minor 7, and this would be half diminished 7th. So we just put that like that. Or you could put it as B minor 7, flat 5. What I'm saying here, essentially, is we have this as chord 1. So this just takes care of this chord here. But what if it was D minor? What's the next step that we're going to have? So D minor, we get a root, a flat third, and a fifth. We take it up to the next one. We're going to get D minor 7. We get a root, a flat third, a fifth. We're going to take this from this as well. So a flat 7. D minor 9. Can you see we're just expressing this idea of simple octave into compound octave so we get these chords to their fullest expression. We don't have to use all the notes. The smallest shaped chord we have in the cage system is the D shape that uses 4 strings. So we should be able to get any chord down to being 4 strings. And that one's got 7 notes in it. So how do you play 7 notes on 4 strings? You have to get rid of some of those notes. So there's that flat 7, and then here is the 9. I'm going to just quickly talk about something, and I'm going to do a lesson called, Do I Need to Know My Modes? And the idea I have for the thumbnail is it just says yes on it. And the reason you need to know your modes is because the modes tell you the spellings of the notes in your chord. I'm not going to get into modes very deep with this, but let's just look at this one. This would be chord 2. This is chord 1. This is chord 2. And this would be Dorian. That would be the Dorian mode. That's the scale that we would play if we started on the D in the key of C major. So let's look at the formula for Dorian. Root, second, flat third, fourth, fifth, the magic note, the sixth, and then we get the flat 7. If you think about it here, we've got the root, third, the fifth, and then we've got the 7th. And then if we go back and we get to a second here, we can think of that as being the 9th, the 4th as being the 11th, and you see that 6 as being a 13. So we can take this expression of Dorian, D minor 11, so root, flat third, 5th, flat 7, 9, and then we've got to call it an 11 because it is an 11. I'm not saying these chords sound great, by the way, because remember, the more notes you have, the more complexity there is there, the more semitones are going to be in there, half steps, they're going to clash. Root, flat third, 5th, flat 7, 9, 11. Let's go up to the next expression of that. This is what I'm working out here. It's quite complex. We can think about it in this way. I'm going to do another one because I just want to show you the way you have to think of this. And like I say, do I need to learn modes? What did I say the answer was? Yes. If we look at E minor, whoosh that down there. This is chord 3. Chord 3 is the Phrygian mode. And you didn't realize your modes were going to be so helpful. The Phrygian mode goes root, flat second, flat 3, 4, 5, flat 6, and flat 7. We can go root, flat third, 5th. We can see there that we would get an E minor is going to be a root, a flat third, and a 5th. And I'm showing you the difficult way here. I'm showing you the kind of exposition of how this actually works here. I'm going to show you an easier way. And this is why I came up with the easy way, which is the cycle of thirds. Let's go E minor 7, which is the root, flat third, 5th, flat 7. E minor 9. Hang on, E minor 9. So now, if we look at this, remember this flat 2, just to show you that harmonic equivalence happens with these scale degrees as well. This would be a flat 9. You see how that makes a difference to how we work these things out? So that would be E minor with a flat 9. It's not going to sound marvelous, is that? But it's going to tell you and it's going to inform you what sounds you can get out of here. So root, flat third, 5th, flat 7, flat 9. That would be the formula. If you had a natural 9 on there, then it's not in Phrygian anymore, because this is the structure of the Phrygian scale. It's a Spanishy sounding minor. 4th is 11th, flat 6. That's going to be a flat 13. Let's put it as an E minor 11. An E minor 11 on chord 3 is nice, but we have to get rid of any of those notes. This is why I'm saying to you, when you look at these monstrous 7-note chords, we can omit notes, and we can omit notes for the sake of convenience. Root, flat third, 5th, flat 7, flat 9, and then we get that 11 there. For it to be called an E minor 11, it has to have an 11, but you know what we can get rid of? That flat 9 if we want to. And especially, remember I said, the D major chord. If you think about it, our humble D major chord, this one here, that's your smallest voicing that you can have that uses 4 strings. So you should be able to play any of these chords using 4 strings. Let's carry on. E minor 13, hang on. What do we know from the scale formula? It's going to be an E minor flat 13. It sounds absolutely disgusting. It's gross. Probably not going to use it. But theoretically, we need to understand it. Because we might want to say to ourselves, we don't want that note, and we need to know where it is. What note is that? Root third, 5th, flat 7, flat 9, 11, flat 13. That's it worked out there. As you can see, I've only worked out 3 chords, and I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 to go, and I filled up this sheet of paper here. And what this is doing, it's fleshing it out, but it's showing you the long way around. And I don't want to show you the long way around, which is why I came across this cycle of thirds thing. The cycle of thirds just makes sense to me. When I was at music college, I had a composition to do as part of my qualification. I thought it would be cool if we could use car registration number plates in the UK. And I just basically sat at the side of the road and logged them down. And then each of those had information, because I used to see that a car registration plate would have DFA, and I thought, well, that's a D minor chord. Oh, it's got a CEG. I actually had a car that had a CEG, and this is what made me think about it. So what I decided with that was that, hang on, there seems to be this thing that goes around. And around about the same time as well, I saw a lesson. It was back in the day when you used to have VHS cassette tapes, and we used to have a local secondhand shop. I used to go down there and buy these American import VHS tapes, and I got one. It was a guy called, if you've heard of him, then you'll know. He's passed away now, but he was a monster. Sean Lane. Some people get him, some people just don't understand it. He's the fastest man ever. But I'm going to show you a pattern that I saw, and I thought, oh, he's just stacking thirds. So this is where I thought about this. I thought triads are thirds. A seventh chord is made by keeping on going through that cycle. So let's just do it as a cycle of thirds. We're going to do the key of C major. So I'm going to just do it like this, C. Now, if you know anything about my cycle of thirds mnemonic, this is the one that I use. Every good band deserves fans and cash. Every good band deserves fans and cash. I don't care if you change that mnemonic to whatever you want. This is the cycle of the way that it goes round. It goes E, G, B, D, F, A, C. Point in case, this is the key of C. When it goes from the every good band deserves fans and cash, it goes back to every again. So it just cycles round. So I'm going to go every good band deserves fans and cash. So we have basically the key of C major. If we were to think about that on the key signature, if you read music as well, then that is the key signature. This is the key of C major. Now what we can do is, instead of this horrendous thing that we had here, this one here, we can start on the C, and because we know that the cycle goes root, third, fifth, 7, 9, 11, 13. That's what you need to know. That would be if it was major. You put any sharps or flats or anything else that you need in there. Root, third, fifth, 7, 9, 11, 13. If I start here, this is the root of the C major chord. This is the third. This is the fifth. This is the seventh. This is the ninth. This is the 11th. This is the 13th. If we look at this, we go root, third, fifth, seventh. What's the ninth going to be? That's the ninth. What's the 11th? Yes. What's the 13th? But this isn't the only way that it works. We can apply chords to this as well here, guys. This is what's cool about the cycle of thirds. So this is chord 1. And we know by going up 3, we're going to get chord 3 in as Roman numerals. That's the third chord in C major. This is going to be E minor. So we can go root, third, fifth of E minor. There's the flat 7. Then we get that flat 9. Then we get the 11, and then we get that flat 13, because remember, chord 3 is the same as Phrygian. I did mention before in a lesson about synonyms. I find it easier to think of chord 3 as being Phrygian. They're both the same thing as far as I'm concerned. And I look at a chord and I'll go, that chord is Phrygian, Mixolydian, or whatever. So this is where it ties in, and that's going to inform you of what note choices are available to you. So 1, 3, we just follow this sequence here. Let me just write out in Roman numerals. Here is the cycle chords in the key. 1, 3, 5, 7. This is going to be 2, because remember, 2 and 9 are synonymous. 4 and 11 are synonymous, so this one is going to be chord 4. And then 6 and 13 are going to be synonymous as well. So if we work our way around here, you can see we get 1, 3, 5, 7, which is diminished. Then we get 2, 4, then we get 6. And that's all of those chords expressed there. So you can see that the thing with the uppercase and lowercase of the Roman numerals becomes super important as well. Uppercase Roman numerals, that means major. If it's lowercase, it means minor. Even though it's still the same number, the number doesn't make any difference. It's the uppercase and lowercase-ness. You can see here that this is E minor, G major, B, look at that little circle, that little degree sign, that means diminished, so B diminished, D minor, F major, A minor. You can work all these chords out, so this would be A minor. Let's look at extending A minor, and because it's chord 6, we just think of it as its modal equivalent, Aeolian, or the natural minor, and the scale formula for that would be root, second flat, third, fourth, fifth, flat 6, flat 7. So that's the root. That's the third, that's the fifth of A minor. Then we get the flat 7, then we get the 9, the 11, which is going to be there. And then we get the 13 here. Hang on, which kind of 13 is it going to be? It's a flat 6 there, so it's going to tell us that it would be a flat 13. Not necessarily a nice note to play, actually. Very dissonant, because that flat 6 clashes against the 5. You might be wondering as well what this business is here. I'm just using this as shorthand. Some people say, oh, you can't use the delta sign because that's just for saying that a chord is major 7 or whatever. But for me, that means major. So it's telling you in between C and E, that's a major third distance. In between the E and the G, we've got a minus. So I'm thinking of that as being a major third, and then the minus sign is a minor third. As we go all the way around, you just switch in through those until you hit here, which wonderfully demonstrates B, D, F is on the diminished chord, which is stacked minor thirds. Look at that. Minor third, there's your diminished. The distance between that B and that F would be a flat 5. So this is an easier way to work that business out. Let me just do another key, and let's not make it too difficult. We're going to do it in the key of G. Remember the mnemonic, every good band deserves fans and cash. Then it goes back to the beginning. So G, B, D, F, A, C, E. Because we know this is the key of G major, we've got an F sharp in there, so we have to add this to that one there. That's the only change we've had to make, because this is what this does. If any of you do coding, I always think of this as, back in my old web development days, this is expressing the variable. That means that every time you see an F, it's got to be an F sharp, because this is saying it is. That's what that does. Look, we just apply that, boom, down there on that one. Root, third, fifth, 7, 9, 11, 13. Change those into 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, which is really a 2, 4, 6. So we can go 1. Then we get 3, then we get 5, then 7. Look at those 2 minor thirds stacked. That's the disruption. You think to yourself, hang on, look, major third, minor third, major third, minor third. The pattern gets destroyed a bit here on the diminished chord. 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, or 2, because that's synonymous there. 2, 4, 6. So now what you can do is work out to your heart's delight, instead of loads of different permutations like that horrendous sheet that I only did 3 chords on. Let's look at chord 4. Put the modal synonym for that, which is Lydian. Great way to remember this. Lydian is essentially a major scale, but the 4 is raised a half step. And that means you get this sharp 4. Which means, if we're thinking about it from this perspective, what would a sharp 4 equal? Lydian is there. So when we get round here, our root for the 4 chord is going to be C, the 3rd, the 5th, the 7th, the 9th, the 11th, and 13th. You see how we can get that full expression of that chord there? I would actually call that a Lydian chord. Bluegrass Billy got it, sharp 11. Yes. That's how it works. That's a sharp 11 as well. This cycle of thirds, it's a great way of working it out, because if you know your key, you've got to know your keys. Another reason you need to know your keys, and it's another thing that I teach guys, and hopefully you've seen it on my channel, and it is this: the secret to playing anywhere on the neck. And how to enhance this. This is what I call the L7 grid. There's the L7 grid. So we apply this to this. We go, all right, okay, so I'm on the E string there. I go G, B, D, and I can work everything out. This is called the L7 grid. Hopefully that makes sense. But I'm not done with this idea of thirds. You see, we've got these minor thirds and we've got these major thirds. And what we need to do is we need to look at how these work out on the neck. I have done another video on string pairs. Super important. String pairs demystify the neck. It also use them with caged octaves. Let me show you what I mean by this. We've got string pair there, the E and the A string. This is it. We're leveraging the guitar tuning to access this. These are the string pairs. This is all magic, these string pairs. They're a fourth. So we're just going to use string pairs and we're going to look at major third and minor third shapes. It doesn't matter which string pair I put this on. If we looked at this as being a root here, then this would be your major third. Does that look like your G major chord there, guys? Because there's the root, there's the third, and that would be a major third. I'm going to just reuse a bit of the fretboard again. So I'm going to do this here. Root, if I take that major third, and I'll lower it 1, I get a flat third. That's the shape. So this is the shape that you get on your perfect fourth strings, yes? So these are your 3 main string pairs. We have 2 subsets. This one here, we get a fourth here, and then we get this one here, and this is the wonky one. I'm going to do this one separately just to show you. If I started here, this would be a root, this would be a third. If I did it on this string, this would be a root, this would be a flat third. If I did a root here, this would be a third. There, look at the distance. Yeah, this is it. Look, see the distance? Look at the distance, those shapes there. Now, if I do this one here, you can see we get the root and the flat third. We get the same patterns. I'm going to keep that one close because I've got another one to show you. These are the 3 main string pairs, but here are the subsets. So this is on the A and the D string, and then we've got this one here. So now here are the subsets. This was the one that's tuned to a fourth. So everything on there is exactly the same as we have on this one here. So we get a root here. We're going to have a major third there. What shape does that look like? Cowboy chord that we all know and love so much. We get the root there and we get the flat third there. So that shape that we already encountered here is because of that being fourths. But this one is the odd one out because this is where the tuning goes wonky. Now what we need to do is figure out how that works. It's pretty easy. If we've got a root here, because it's tuned in thirds, then the root is there. Instead of it being this compensated thing, we have to go up 1 fret, don't we? Remember. So the third is going to be there. Yeah? Just crosses over like that. Lovely. If we did this here on the minor third, so that's going to be up 1 fret. So the minor third goes there. It's easy to see why some people get confused over that one and that one. They're exactly the same sort of fingering, but fret-wise, you're going to get the wrong sound. So that is a major third, that's a minor third. Now this becomes important. We're going to get back to our circle of thirds. I'm going to show you how we can use this now. Let's do this in C major. That makes it nice and easy because the natural notes on the fretboard are C major and they are A minor, because this works for both the major key and the minor key. The cycle for that one, C, E, G, B, D, F, A. You can use your fingers for this. If you haven't got enough fingers, then you might want to take your socks off and use your toes as well. 5, got the 7 there. Root, third, fifth, 7. It's going to be the 9, which is going to be second. It's going to be the 11, which is going to be the 4, because they're synonymous. And then this is going to be the 13th, which is going to be chord 6. They're the same. That's your key. But here's where it gets useful. This is what I was on about with that Sean Lane trick. I saw this and I thought, hang on. This is actually where I pulled out the 3 master triad shapes from. He played this. He played an F, an A, and a C like that. And I thought, oh, that's interesting. Okay. But then he started again and he played the A, the C, and the E. I thought, oh, yeah, that's interesting. He played chord 4, then he played chord 6. And he went C, E, G. And I thought, hang on, that's chord 1. Crikey, it's all just coming out there. It's all just laying out in front of me there. So F, A, C, E, G. Right? And then I thought E, G, B, E, G, B. That is going to be E, G, B here. So these are these little fragments that you start pulling out of here. You can say E, G, B. I'm trying to overlap them so that they don't all blend into one thing. So that's what he did. And I saw that and I thought, that's going to be really useful because what I can do now is I think, okay, let's go to that F again. Well, look, I can pull out these Fs. F, A, C. Oh, that's pretty cool. Where else can I do that? There's an F, an A, and a C there. So I can use these ideas to join those things up. But then I thought to myself, hang on, if I'm in the key of C major, I don't play that F, A, C, I can play it as a triad. But what if I wanted to make that bigger? What if I wanted to make that into a major 7? I go F, A, C, E. So I need an E. Let's pull that in. I'm going to do that there. F, A, C, E. There's my note, F, A, C, E. So I can join those all up. F, A, C, E, G. I can even get the 9 in there. And these become my target notes. They have the same function if you think about it. What a root note does is resolve. The third is emotion. The fifth is transparent. The 7th is more emotion. The 9th is nice. If you've ever seen the Fast Show sketch, that's the note that they're playing. When jazzers say nice, that's the note. The 9th is a really nice note. And then if we go 11, this is the 4th. We have to be careful with this one because if there is a third involved and it's a major third, then we're going to get a clash. So we have to be careful. Sometimes it's an avoid note. If you know how to escape it, it can also be a good tension sound. 13, tell you what that 13 is. It's the counterpart to the 9th in my mind, and that's another nice note. So as well as that emotion, nice and nice, you've got all these colours you can play with, just like me here. So the guitarist is playing a C major 7, and I want to extend that. So C, there's the root, there's the 3rd, there's the 5th. But I'm going to extend it. So there's the 5th, there's the 7th. Guess what this is? There's the 9th. I can take that path all the way along there. Then what happened when I realised that, I thought, do you know what? If somebody's playing a C and I played a B, D and an F, then essentially the overall harmony of that is going to equate to that chord that I wanted. Guaranteed, there are going to be some notes in there that you want to avoid. So what you can do is superimpose. Superimposition. This is where the cycle of thirds comes in. Superimposition. That means if we have an F chord, which is FAC, if we took an E minor and plonked that on top and played those notes, then we're going to get one chord superimposed over the top of another. But what's good about this is I will use a little chunk like that there. I know I'm in C major, A minor here, and I will use a little triad form like that because they're not always over these patterns that are linked to cage chords, the three master triads. This is another way of seeing how they snake across the fretboard like this. We could think about how this would join into our much beloved minor pentatonic box 1. So you've got box 1, and then what you have is you have this little pattern here that helps you to break away and maybe join up onto this pattern here. So we can use that in there. But what we can also then do is, because we know what key we're in with this, and because I know battle ends and down goes Charles's father, and down goes Charles's father, down, D, F, A. Let's put that in there. And I'm going to join that up to my other pentatonic down here. So it's all joined up there, those pentatonic notes there, guys, look. So this is the way you're seeing about it. Because the problem is that when you start using this sort of stuff, this is chords, this is chord tone soloing, but what happens is when you start learning, you play pentatonic box patterns. And when you play pentatonic box patterns, you bore yourself because it sounds samey. And because you play them like exercises, like scales. You know, if you play scales, you sound scaly. What you need to do is find some little triad patterns that make sense with all this, and you join them into your pentatonic boxes. If you've seen my lesson on how to turn your pentatonics into modes by adding 2 extra notes, then you have the 7-note diatonic patterns as well. So it all links up. Let me just demonstrate with this. C major, A minor. I'm just going to play this A minor 7 chord here. Now I know that's chord 6. I said that box 1 went here. And then look, there's where the G lives. G, B, D. It's a good way that's going to help you to learn the names of the notes on your fretboard as well. G, B, D. So you can see, we can take that there. G, B, D, F. Go backwards on the G triad there. D, B, G. So you see these little fragments, these little chunks here. What they're going to do is they're going to help you to outline chords and help you to bridge from pentatonic to pentatonic. Let's have a look at this one. There's a little E minor. So there's an E minor 7. There's an E minor. So what that does is it gives you outside of the pentatonic sounds. And when we're thinking about pentatonics are simple. They are very relaxed and open sounding, whereas 7-note diatonic scales, they're more complex. And because they're more complex, there's more tension in that. Because that there, look at that B there, we've got a C smack bang next to it. That's a half step, it's a semitone. Semitones clash. But you could take that. There's 3 notes from that pentatonic. Or you could think of it as a C major triad. There. And there's the G there. And that's part of that thing as well. See, I just played. There's an F major. F, A, C. Cycle of thirds. Right, F, A, C. I need an E to turn it into a major 7. And the chords start to spell themselves out as well. And if you think about it, F, A, C, E, if we get rid of the F there, A, C, E, we've got that A minor chord. So we can turn an A minor at the last minute. We could turn that into an F just by adding that note and by coming back on ourselves. I could even go, look at that, into a D minor there. There's lots of cool stuff in this here. Cycle of thirds, string pairs, all sorts of stuff. It is very logical and it's all there. My thing is I point out the obvious because generally what people do is they just see past it. Everybody goes, oh, hang on, cycle of fifths. Oh, I need to learn the cycle of fifths when they can't even play an F bar chord. This is what happens. So there's no need to over egg the pudding with that. But once you understand some of these basic structures of how things work, you're using the grids, using string pairs, using the cycle of thirds, using the cage system, all these things, they're all layers that overlay on top of each other. And then you've got to connect those ideas. And when you connect them, then that's when the guitar opens up. And it doesn't matter what genre you're in, what key you're in, it's always the same template. I often think it's like a mixing desk, for PA. It looks really complicated, but once you get the hang of channel 1, all the other channels are exactly the same. And that's the same. Once you understand one key, how that works, you just move it along and apply the same things onto the new keys. There's 12 keys, one mnemonic to rule them all. I showed you this cycle of thirds in the book, page 24, lesson 19. What I've done is I've just fleshed it out there with some utility, how it works. And I like to do that, so just dig into that a little bit more, but these are just prompts for you. But the battle ends and down goes Charles's father is a bigger idea than you think. And I'm going to do a lesson on that coming up, and that will give you command of knowing exactly where the chords are, where the scales are, where all the notes are. It's a really simple idea. So hit that subscribe, do all that good stuff. I will see you in a future lesson. See you later, guys.